Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean, World Cup qualifying in CONCACAF. What you think will happen is generally the furthest thing that actually happens. The United States men's national team heads into Estadio Azteca and comes out with a result, with a tie, with a nothing tie. And they do it by coming into that game with a lineup that I was certainly not expecting. It was a very strong lineup. It was a lineup that showed that Greg Berhalter absolutely wanted to win that game, to come out with 3 points. I mean, we knew Zach Steffen was going to be in net. We pretty much knew the back line, but we get the Musa Adams Acosta midfield, the MAA, and then up front we weigh Weah, Pepe, and Pulisic. I mean, Pulisic and Weah. That meant Greg was absolutely going after this one. And Mexico puts out a very strong lineup themselves. They had Rodriguez in there in the central midfield, meaning that they were looking to get after the U.S. back line, create some chances, and make some things happen on their own. But what actually happened in that game, man, that was surprising. But I think we need to add some context, because the more important result tonight was the one that happened, Canada against Costa Rica. We really needed our friends from the north to take care of business tonight and hand Costa Rica a loss, but they end up getting a red card. They end up going down 1-0. I don't know if you guys saw that red card in the Canada game, but it was absolutely CONCACAF-y as possible. I'm super surprised VAR didn't take that one away. But Costa Rica does what they need to do. They get the 3 points, and that makes things very complicated as we head into this next two games, because the U.S. might need a few more points than we were actually expecting, pending the result between Costa Rica and El Salvador. So things just got a little bit more tense. So guys, thank you for coming in tonight. This is a live Yank Report. The comment section is absolutely going. We are going to get your live comments on things that are happening and also some thoughts from the game. Let's start out with Miguel Benitez Jr., who kind of wraps it up. Sad to see the missed opportunities, but we'll certainly take the result. Yeah, I think it is disappointing that the U.S. did not win this game. The U.S. definitely created the better of the chances, and I think they held Mexico to some. Mexico had a lot of shots on goal, but a lot of them were from well outside, and they were long shot opportunities. The U.S. created two gild edge opportunities, and they created two gild edge opportunities on the feet of two gentlemen who I think we would vote most likely to put those chances away, in an informed Christian Pulisic and an informed Jordan Pefok, and neither one of them were able to put it away. So it's disappointing, but at the same time, anytime you can go into Estadio Azteca and come away with a point during World Cup qualifying is a good thing. Manchu with a $5 donation. Yo, Sam, where's the best place to get some boudin? Well, as of right now, it's a little bit late to get boudin this late at night, but I would say Don's Specialty Meats is probably the go-to spot, maybe, or the best stop. The best stop's really good too. For the $5 donation, I'm gonna hit the smoke machine for you. There you go. Got the smoke machine going in the studio tonight. Need a little extra pizzazz because I'm feeling a little bit rough coming off that game, fellas. Let's talk about some impressive performances from the U.S. And I want to start one off with one. I mean, we knew this guy was going to be impressive. He's been impressive throughout World Cup qualifying. However, he picks up a yellow card and is going to be out for the next game against Panama, which is disappointing. Tim Weah was probably the best American of the first 60 minutes in the game. Once again, at least the best American attacker. We had that sequence that Christian Pulisic has that opportunity where I believe it was actually off a throw-in. DeAndre Yedlin gets it and puts it into Ricardo Pepi. And Ricardo Pepi had a very quiet night. Ricardo Pepi has been out of form lately. He hasn't been scoring goals, but he does have that one moment. His hold-up play was good, and certainly whenever Jordan Pefok came in, the difference between Pepi's hold-up play and Pefok's hold-up play were night and day. I'm not sure that Pefok was able to hold the ball up once, but anyway. So Pepe squares or plays a wall pass into space out for Tim Weah, and Tim Weah lays it across the box, and Christian Pulisic comes onto it on the back post. It was a moment that I think Tim Weah just has been creating those moments all throughout World Cup qualifying. Christian Pulisic is unable to put it away. But once again, the guy who's playing his club football in France has been absolutely tremendous for the U.S. Really going to be disappointed not to have him at Panama. But I think we got to say something about him. I think the probably the best performance and the most exciting performance tonight was as Yuk so eloquently points out, Gio was so good tonight. So good to see Gio back in the squad, man. I mean, that run, what was it in like the 80th minute where he just basically dribbled the entire Mexican midfield and most of the back line. I mean, he put Hector Herrera on his face. That was so impressive. You just see the quality that he has. And then he pops up for our next big chance, which I believe it was Yunus Musa who played a ball over the top to Gio. And Gio called for that ball. He was showing Musa where he wanted to put it, where he wanted him to put it. He puts it in that space, and Gio just, I mean, like a soft pitch coach, just lays it over the middle right to Pefok, who is all alone by himself. I mean, nobody around him. And there really was nobody around him because there was nobody in that stadium. For whatever reason, the Mexican fans didn't turn out tonight. Pefok has the whole goal, and he comes up short, man. Really disappointing. That Rayo run. Disagree about Way. You didn't think Way had a good game? I thought, early on in the game, the U.S. was really struggling to get the ball to the wingers. I think that I think that we saw that, especially the first 30 minutes. I mean, Christian Pulisic, they said right before halftime, had the least amount of touches of any American player. And I think Tim Weah probably wasn't too far away from that. Early in the game, I think the game plan was pretty clear that the U.S. was going to withstand a lot of pressure and try to play over the top. They were trying to press and counter, win balls in the midfield and go directly at Mexico that way. And I think a lot of our opportunities early on came from that. But the U.S. did have a lot of opportunities where they created turnovers in the midfield, had some chances to get the ball to the feet of either Way or Pulisic. But early on, man, Acosta and Musa just could not hit a pass to save their lives. They could not locate passes, and they weren't the only ones. I mean, the back line really struggled to put passes together all night. The U.S. really didn't try to possess the ball out of the back per se, but even whenever they were passing it in between each other, I mean, they really looked shaky, just trying to play it from one center back to the next. It was not great in possession from the U.S. at all. And whenever it came, those little glimmers of hope, those little opportunities, we just always seem to just completely mishit it, play it right to a Mexican defender. A lot of missed opportunities in the counterattack tonight, which is disappointing because we saw in those moments where the U.S. did get it right, the U.S.'s counter is absolutely lethal. I think we saw a lot tonight, which we would actually see in a World Cup game, in a game where the U.S. is playing against a superior opponent and we don't have the majority of the ball. I think this is a lot what we're going to see. The U.S. is going to be able to win balls in the midfield and counterattack ferociously, and hopefully actually put some of those chances away. Juan Carlos says, Sam, what are your thoughts on the two pins not given? I personally think none of them were pins, but I can see the first one being discussed. I don't think either of them were pins. I think, yeah. So Raul Jimenez was going at Walker Zimmerman, and I think this was off of a bad Yunus Musa back pass. Yunus Musa, right after he got that knock, when he comes back onto the field, one of his first moments in the game where he has the ball at his feet, he plays a really lazy back pass that gets intercepted. I believe that was that chance. I might be wrong about exactly when that was. But I remember it was Jimenez who was up against Zimmerman, and Jimenez was looking for the penalty all day. I mean, he like drug his foot back and tried to find Zimmerman's foot with his foot and went down. I think that looked like a dive in real time, and it certainly looked like a dive on the replay. I didn't really feel threatened by that moment, and certainly didn't feel threatened by the moment where Vega was in on Morris. I mean, that was that was a Neymar level dive. I thought, and speaking of Mexico, speaking of Mexico's opportunities, first of all, Hector Herrera, I mean, I think we saw it a lot of moments where if Hector Herrera has the ball in space, he can put it wherever he wants on the soccer field. And there were so many really nice passes from Hector Herrera. There was one in particular where he put it over our back line, and it was just a few inches away from the attacker. I forget who the attacker was in that sequence. But that guy, man, I mean, he didn't look good in that last game against the U.S. save for a few moments, but in this game he had a lot more space. The U.S. midfield was giving the Mexican midfield a lot more time on the ball, and Hector Herrera put the ball in some really nice places. But that being said, I really thought the Mexican front three just didn't create as much danger as I was expecting them to throughout this game. I really thought that they were going to create a lot more opportunities. I thought Tecatito was going to be something dangerous. I mean, Lozano took a lot of shots. He took a lot of shots, but a lot of them were from outside the box or from low percentage areas. They were, a lot of them were either well wide or well high. So they were low percentage opportunities, and I think the U.S. forced Mexico into a lot of low percentage opportunities. Mexico put a lot of crosses in the box. I never felt like they were going to win any of those crosses. So I thought the U.S. defense did really well as far as stopping Mexico's chances. Mexico had a lot of useless possession. Looked a lot like the U.S. when we played Canada in Canada, where they just had a lot of the ball in the midfield, and the U.S. was happy to give it to them, and Mexico was unable to do a lot with it. I was surprised that Tata Martino brought in so many younger guys, like Johan Vasquez, the center back, came in. I'm not sure that he had a great game. He certainly had some shaky moments in the back there, but we also got to see Vega come in. I know the Mexican fans are very high on Vega. I thought he was all right. I mean, the biggest moment he had in the match was that going down for that fake penalty against Jordan Morris. But outside of that, yeah, I don't know. Chucky Lozano, man. Ada PJ says Chucky Lozano woke up and thought he was Ronaldo after playing one game in a month. Yeah, he was going for some shots. I mean, he was going for some low percentage shots, and none of them were close. None of them were close. Some of them were scary when he hit them, but they were not close, man. So I thought the U.S. got the better of the chances all night. Splitting You says, and Gio Reyna was not nervous. He literally just strolled through the field and messed up defenders. Yeah, it looked like a Disney movie almost. Like he was surprised at how far he was getting up the field. I think you got to wonder what the U.S. would have looked like had they had Gio Reyna throughout all of World Cup qualifying, and not just for 2 games, and not just as a substitute in this game. Gio Reyna for 90 minutes against Panama is going to be very fun to watch, hoping he starts. I mean, assuming he's going to start, because Tim Weah is not going to be there. The guy's just a difference maker. I mean, that run by itself was an absolute highlight tape of a run. And I was so frustrated that Christian Pulisic wasn't keeping up with him to give him an opportunity there. But I think Pulisic was really gassed. And that's another big thing to bring up in this game. I think after the 60th minute, both squads were gassed. Both squads were absolutely gassed. It used to be that whenever Mexico played in Estadio Azteca, they were so hard to beat over there because their players were a lot more used to playing at altitude, breathing that air, and they could go whenever the opposition wasn't able to go. And now, so many of their players either aren't playing in Mexico or they're not playing for Club Azul, or what's the other one? Club America, that both play in Estadio Azteca. That it's not really an advantage for them either. I think they fell off just as much as the U.S. fell off. And after that 60th minute, the intensity really fell out of the game. And I think that contributed a lot to Gio Reyna being able to break everybody's ankles on that run. So I wonder about the fortress that is Estadio Azteca moving forward for Mexico, and if it's going to become just as much a hurt to them as it is a help. And it's not like the crowd was there. The crowd didn't show up. They were saying part of it was due to the COVID restrictions and all the registering that they had to do. They said traffic was a problem. They said, I mean, there's so many things. The fans are very upset with FMF for a variety of reasons. And they're upset with Tata Martino. They're upset with the team about how World Cup qualifying is going. And I don't know, pick your reason, but for whatever it is, that was one of the quietest Estadio Aztecas I can recall, really ever. Whether that's watching like a club match or an international match. It is so surprising considering this is a World Cup qualifier, a really important World Cup qualifier for Mexico against the United States. And yeah. Ethan Davis says, looking forward, well, he didn't say looking forward. I'm saying looking forward, but that's what he means. Do you feel better about our chances of qualifying after these games? And I think you got to be happy with a point away at Estadio Azteca in Mexico. I think a lot of people were assuming the U.S. would get no points from this game. I mean, I really thought Mexico was going to put one in on us early, and we were going to be chasing for the rest of the game. I was surprised with how listless the Mexican attack was. So I think we would be very happy with a point away at Mexico if it wasn't for Canada dropping that game. That really throws a monkey wrench into things. Now, but prior to this game coming in, it was all going to be about beating Panama. That's still the most important game of the window. We got to get 3 points from that game, and beating Panama still keeps everything ahead of us. But boy, we really need some help with Costa Rica. Costa Rica have a game against El Salvador coming up. If Costa Rica can drop points to El Salvador, that would be a big help to the U.S. men's national team moving forward. Let's see. Robert Schaefer says, Andrew, you need a 9-point window, 3 wins, and a 7-point goal differential. Not going to happen, and we aren't going to drop points at home. No way. I'm not sure who you're referring to, but I think the U.S. is still in a tremendous position to qualify for the World Cup. Mexico is still in a tremendous position. Mexico has El Salvador and Honduras coming up. One of those games is at home, and they're going to have a tremendous opportunity to win that game. Some other important U.S. men's national team performances tonight. I think Tyler Adams putting a shift. Tyler Adams putting a shift, man. He shut down a lot in the midfield. He was all over the place. He wore the captain's armband tonight. And he did, I think, the most important thing that we needed from him was he didn't get that yellow card. So he will be available for that Panama game. Just a tremendous player every time he takes the field for the U.S. To be fair, that he could have been better with the ball at his feet. He could have been more incisive with some of his passes. He was guilty in that first half of kind of wasting some possession, just as much as anybody else. But his defensive effort is just unmatched, and what he brought to that field, I think, really went a long way towards keeping Mexico subdued, keeping them from running at us, and keeping it 0-0, keeping them from getting quality chances. Let's take some more questions, comments. Adam Spitzer says, having a world beater would be great. We currently arguably don't even have a top 50 player. We have a lot of good players, but this idea that we're supposed to be crushing everyone isn't real. Yeah, I tend to agree with that. The U.S. the idea that the U.S. should be crushing everyone is a little bit over the top, especially considering the age of so many of these players. I mean, every neutral pundit that has looked at the U.S. men's national team, whenever I say neutral, I mean like pundits from other countries. Whenever they look at the U.S. men's national team, they all say, this is a great young team, but they don't have the experience and 2026 is their goal. They're gonna have some shaky moments, and we've seen it throughout World Cup qualifying where some of these young players have put in performances that weren't up to the standard. The other thing that's really hurting us is injuries. We've lost a lot of key players all throughout World Cup qualifying. I mean, this window, we don't have Dest, we don't have Aronson, we don't have Weston McKennie. There have been windows where we didn't have Pulisic. We haven't had Reyna throughout this World Cup qualifying effort. So the lack of, I mean, we do have some depth, but you lose a few of those key guys. Like there's nobody to replace Weston McKennie. There's nobody to replace Serginho Dest. You lose a few of those key guys, and it really hurts your squad. I don't think the U.S. is a team at this moment that's going to be able to run over anybody. And I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where you can just run over CONCACAF. It's still a very difficult region. Even though Canada's won a lot of their games and they're number one in World Cup qualifying right now, it's not like they've won them cleanly. It's not like they've rolled over teams. They've had a lot of hard-fought games, just like everybody else. And some of the opportunities, like, boy, I mean, how many opportunities have the U.S. had that have slipped away? I remember that El Salvador game where Miles Robinson had the opportunity to head it and win that game, and he didn't. And then tonight, there's been so many missed opportunities. The game against Canada where Weston McKennie has that opportunity and misses it. There's been so many of those moments that the U.S. have failed to capitalize on. Canada, it kind of went for them. They got their chances. The U.S. didn't. So that's why they were able to get the wins. But it's not as if they're crushing people. Shout out to Robert Haynes. I haven't seen you in a while, Robert Haynes. I haven't seen you in the chat in a while. He says Sean Moore. I think he means Shaq Moore. Shaq Moore coming into camp. I would be in favor of Shaq Moore coming into camp. I would be in favor of Joe Scally coming into camp. Anybody at this point, we need a right back because with DeAndre Yedlin out and Reggie Cannon having coronavirus, the U.S. has no right back as we head into Orlando, which is worrisome. So Robert Haynes says, Greg says it's going to be Shaq Moore in a press conference, I'm assuming. So, hey, at least we'll have somebody that has had experience in the group. It looks like Joe Scally is just not going to get his opportunity in World Cup qualifying. He'll have opportunities assuming the U.S. get through. But, yeah. Boy, what a Greek tragedy of a game, man. A Greek tragedy of a game. And I say Greek tragedy because in a Greek tragedy, your greatest strength becomes your greatest weakness. And that's what happened with the U.S. tonight. The two biggest chances of the game fall on the feet of the two most informed goal scorers that the U.S. men's national team have, Jordan Pefok and Christian Pulisic, and neither one of them are able to pull the trigger. I got to say, man, I've never been high on Pefok. I know a lot of people wanted him to come in, and it was his finishing and his goal scoring that really really sold it for Pefok. But for me, he's a guy that just doesn't offer a lot to the squad, especially a squad that plays like the U.S. men's national team. He's not very dynamic. You saw it at the end of this game. He doesn't press. There were moments where Greg Berhalter was just screaming at him to go press the Mexican opposition. He doesn't hold the ball up well. He's not going to combine well. There's not going to be a lot of passing. Basically, he's in there to finish chances that come into the box, and he does it really well for his club. But in this one moment where the U.S. men's national team needs him, he's not able to get it done. Now, everybody missed chances. Everybody misses chances at some point. It's a fact of life in soccer. Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo have all missed sitters. It happens. It's just disappointing whenever it happens in a sequence like this where those missed opportunities just are so big points wise. I mean, if the U.S. has 3 points right here, it kind of changes the way that we can approach World Cup qualifying. Does it? I think it does. It might. You still got to beat Panama either way. Yeah, Robert says not a Pefok fan. Whew. Let's see. Manny Guzman says, yeah, but you're emphasizing too much on that. Point is, USA has improved so much overall. We can finally put to rest that Mexico is no longer the dominant team in CONCACAF. Mexico is going through a tough moment right now. And I think part of the reason why a lot of the Mexican fans didn't show up tonight is because there's a lot of frustration within the Mexican soccer community about this national team, about Tata Martino not bringing in younger players. And I think part of that is the younger players just aren't on the level as some of the players that they need to be replacing. And although the Mexican fans swear that they are, and they swear that they've got this great generation of young Mexican talent, I mean, you guys saw Vega out there. They've been talking to me about Vega for all week now. You guys saw Vega out there. Was Vega as good as Lozano? Was Vega as good as Tecatito Corona? I don't know. I don't think so. Not at this moment. Not right now. Maybe he will be eventually, but not right now. The Mexico kind of has the exact opposite issue as the U.S. They've got a lot of quality players, but they're up there in age. And you got to wonder, 5 months from now, are they going to still be as good? Or are they going to be diminishing? And 5 months from now, are the players that are behind them, the players like Charlie Rodriguez and Alexis Vega and who else? Arteaga. Are they going to get better? Are they going to be up to that level? Or is anybody going to get to like an Andres Guardado level for Mexico? And I don't know. I don't think so. And I think a lot of the Mexican fans, even though they won't admit it, don't think so either. And I think that's contributing to why they're so frustrated right now. So Mexico, I don't know if they're the dominant team in CONCACAF right now. It looks like Canada's the dominant team in CONCACAF. I mean, they they beat us and tied us. We didn't get any. We weren't able to beat them, so they're the guys right now. Mind and Body Muscle, who is very early in the chat, says, I'm 100% sure Mexico was penalized for the homophobic chants prior games. CONCACAF is trying to get the chant out of the game. Yeah, I'm sure you guys heard that during the goal kicks, the Mexican announcer was trying to start a chant, a Mexico chant. He was trying to go, "Oh, Mexico!" And early on in the game, there wasn't the chant, but later on in the game, when the fans started to get frustrated, that chant came right back, and they were saying it real loud towards the end of the game. They tried to drown it out with the PA, but it's definitely still there. And at this point, I'm sure you guys have seen the stories that the fans are claiming now that they're doing the chant to spite FMF, that they want the federation to get penalized, so they're doing it on purpose to spite the team. So that's frustrating. Nick Kulisowski says, worst miss, Pulisic or Pefok? Man. Whew, man. You know, I want to lean Pulisic because he's the guy. Like, he's the guy who's supposed to put those away. And he's done it so often for Chelsea. Like, that's his moment. That's where he makes his money right there. But Jordan Pefok, man. Oh my goodness, that was tough. Jordan Pefok didn't hit the goal. I mean, I'm not sure. Did it cross like the 6-yard line? That was bad, man. That was bad. Whew. Yeah. They need to stop putting Manny Guzman says they need to stop putting all the blame on Martino. Martino can only do so much. It's the players. Unfortunately for Mexico, they just don't have the talent pool at the moment. I mean, it's always a little of column A and a little column B, right? Like, anytime, like, even with criticizing the U.S. men's national team, part of it's on Greg Berhalter, part of it's on the players. Whenever it comes to Mexico, part of it's on the coach, part of it's on the players. I will say, he doesn't seem to be doing himself any favors, Tata, by some of the call-ups, by not calling in Chicharito. I feel like if he calls in Chicharito, it really boosts morale for the fan base and for the national team. But he just doesn't seem to have any interest in doing that. So he's kind of become his own worst enemy at this point. And the Funes Mori situation, and Funes Mori being Argentinian, and the coach being Argentinian, it seems like the fans are quite upset with that. Mike Irish, tier 2 member Mike Irish says Pefok was the worst miss. He looked like he was caught between two minds. Yeah, he didn't get his feet set, and that's the type of thing that you're supposed to, you'd think that a striker who's in form and scoring goals would absolutely have settled, but not quite. We didn't see it there. Really tough. The U.S. has been stacking up these XG points. Like, at some point, the floodgates are going to open. At some point, the XG is going to flip in our favor. Maybe the sample size hasn't been big enough, but at some point, it's gonna go in for us. Nick Kulikowski says, "Are you going to Orlando for the Panama game?" Yes, I'm flying out Saturday. So I'm actually doing another video tomorrow morning and then flying out Saturday. So I will be in Panama. I will be in Orlando for the Panama game, hopefully to watch the U.S. qualify for the World Cup. Hopefully Costa Rica messes up in their game and the U.S. gets 3 points in their game, and the U.S. is able to qualify in that game. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. A few closing thoughts as we get ready to switch from this Mexico game to this Panama game. Caleb Smith says, "Are you worried about the right side versus Panama with Yedlin and Weah out?" I mean, if Shaq Moore comes in like Robert Haynes says he is, and he's able to cover the right flank, I think we're fine. I don't. Panama doesn't have the attackers that Mexico has. It's not like he's going to be up against Irving Lozano or Tecatito Corona or somebody like that. So I think Shaq Moore can do the job just fine. It's never going to be as good as Serginho Dest, but I think it'll be fine. Honestly, I'm not super worried about it. I think Jake Andrews asked the big important question: will Greg Berhalter regret playing the A team for most of this match? And that was the big discussion topic coming in. Let's have a discussion moment. I'm gonna hit the smoke machine. We'll get that going. And as the smoke fills the room, Yeah, so the big discussion coming in was how should the US approach this as far as what team should they play? Should they play an A team? Should they play the B team? Should they have some players ready to go for Panama? Or should, in this game, Greg decided to bring out the big guns, and he played Pulisic, he played Weah, he played Tyler Adams, he played everybody who we wanted him to play, or who would be considered the top dogs to play, and the question is, how does that affect the game against Panama? Because they're coming back from altitude. I mean, we saw them gas on the field. We literally saw them uh, dying out in the 60th minute. How fast are they able to recover? Greg Berhalter says that his staff talked to some of the MLS teams that played in Estadio Azteca recently in CONCACAF Champions League, and they were able to recover very quickly. So the stats say that players should be recovering quickly, but that's yet to be seen, man. We gotta see what happens in Panama. That being said, the risk did pay off because at least in this game, because the U.S. were able to secure that point. Tough fought match, but the U.S. were able to get it done. Honestly, I thought that we could get it done starting like Jordan Morris or somebody like that, and bringing Pulisic in off the bench in the 60th and get him running at the opposition on tired legs. But then again, considering how poorly the U.S. played after 60th minute, how tired they were, and also how tired Mexico was, maybe it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Hector Lopez says Berhalter did his job at Azteca. He got the tie. Good job, GGG. Yeah, I think you have to give Greg props for getting the result in Azteca. I mean, it's still, even though this is a Mexico team that doesn't have the quality of Mexico teams in the past, and even though the U.S. team is a lot better than it was in the past, it's still a hell of a job to go into Estadio Azteca, even though it wasn't a game in the middle of the day and there wasn't 100,000 Mexicans in the crowd screaming. It was at night and it wasn't full capacity. It's still a big thing to go down to Estadio Azteca and get a result. Not a lot of teams have done that throughout World Cup qualifying ever. So it's been really great to just even get that result. But that being said, you're still going to think about those missed opportunities, man. Robert Haynes says, no regrets. This 1 point might be massive. I mean, if we win versus Panama, then we only need to lose by 2 goals or less to Costa Rica and still auto qualify. So, yeah, I mean, it's still going to be all about winning that game against Panama. That's going to be the most important thing, guys. We got almost 200 people in the live stream right now. Make sure you hit the like button, and make sure you comment and get your questions out there, because we're about to wrap this up. Mike Irish says hit the like button. So do what Mike Irish says and hit the like button. Will Stewart, THFC Rant, says they haven't beaten us since 2019, and we had the better chances. We should have taken 3 points from tonight. We shouldn't settle for 1 point. They haven't beat us from 2019, but I mean, how many World Cup qualifiers have we played away at Estadio Azteca since 2019? I don't think any, right? There were some friendlies in there, and there were a lot of games in the U.S. Estadio Azteca away is always going to be a different animal, man. And it's always going to be a different animal whenever we're playing away in World Cup qualifying. And it is a little disappointing to me that that's going to be the last World Cup qualifier away in Mexico for a long, long time, because the U.S. is going to have to qualify in the next cycle, and it's going to be, after that, the World Cup's going to go to like 40 something teams. So World Cup qualifying is going to be completely different. The classic USA versus Mexico World Cup qualifiers is just not going to be the same. The games won't have as much on the line, at least the way that we're thinking about it now. So it's disappointing, kind of the end of an era. Wish it would have been a better game to go out on. Wish the U.S. could have gotten those 3 points as we go out. This is still one of the world's great rivalries. I think that's something that should be said. USA versus Mexico is just it's something we as American soccer fans should be really grateful that we have, because not every soccer power in the world has a rivalry to the level of this, where there is so much on the line for both nations. There's so much history. There's a shared border. There's so many. I mean, whenever USA and Mexico play each other, it is brother versus brother. It is Tia versus Tio. There's a lot of tears and bloodshed on this matchup. A lot of carne asada on the grill. There's a lot of there's so much at stake for both nations, and it's such a cool thing that we get to be a part of as fans and see the emotion, how much it means to these players. See players who are caught in the middle. Players like Julian Araujo and Ricardo Pepi, Efra Alvarez, guys, Paul Areola, guys who have loyalties to both sides. I'm sure you guys, or if you haven't, make sure you go check out that Jenny Chu piece that she did, talking about the rivalry and talking about dual internationals. Such a great piece, and really highlights just how unique and interesting this rivalry is. So great. It's sad to see it go in a lot of ways. Sad that this is going to be the last World Cup qualifier, at least as far as World Cup qualifiers as we've known them. If the World Cup expands as it's planned to, maybe ever. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Will Stewart, THFC Rants, donates $1.99 and says, Zimmerman for man of the match for me. Love your channel. Thank you, Will Stewart. Appreciate that. Zimmerman had another great game, man. And I think Zimmerman's been one of those revelations of World Cup qualifying. He's a guy that, whenever he made the Gold Cup roster, a lot of fans were upset about that. And he gets his opportunity in the Gold Cup and really performs well, and performs so well that whenever he goes down injured, the team looks totally different. And the U.S. is never really able to recover from Walker Zimmerman's injury, even though they're able to go on and win the tournament. It was a different team from then on. And then he comes into World Cup qualifying, and he's not expected to start there. Eventually gets into the team, earns an opportunity to start, and has looked tremendous. I mean, I don't think Walker Zimmerman has lost a defensive header throughout World Cup qualifying. He's been dominant. His one-on-one defending was great. I mean, there was that moment in the game where he was one-on-one in the box with Raul Jimenez, and Raul Jimenez was trying to bait him into a penalty, and Zimmerman didn't bite, and Zimmerman stayed right there with him. He's been an absolutely tremendous defender for the U.S. men's national team. Miles Robinson is right up there with him. Miles Robinson is fallen off a little bit from the peak he was at as just being an absolute lockdown defender for the U.S. men's national team. But he had some moments in this game where you saw his range and his athleticism. So I think the both of them were tremendous. I think Walker Zimmerman, if you want to give your man of the match to Walker Zimmerman, you're not going to get a big argument with me. I thought Tyler Adams was also very influential, but it would have been between those two. The knock I would give Zimmerman is the U.S. was not able to build from the back or connect really any type of cohesive passes from the back. And that was pretty dismal. And they were pretty much resigned to just hitting it long the entire time. But as far as defending, he was great. Let's see. Michael Sponsler says, you do a great job, Sam. No whining. And oh, come on, man. You don't have to pick on other channels in this channel. That's not what this is about. Mike Irish says, it was great to get a point in Azteca. Great to see Reyna back. On to Panama. Yeah, I think we're gonna go to sleep tonight and wake up, and it's just gonna be Panama. It's just gonna be Panama. Yedlin sucked. Did Yedlin suck? I don't know if Yedlin sucked. Isaac Laura says Yedlin sucked. I mean, of course, DeAndre Yedlin is never going to be Serginho Dest. So he's never going to be able to replicate the things in the attack like Serginho Dest. And with Serginho Dest out of the back line, the U.S. is not able to possess the ball the same way out of the back. Serginho Dest solves so many issues in possession. And without him, he's like a safety blanket for Miles Robinson and Walker Zimmerman. And Yedlin's just not able to do any of that. But to be fair, it's like you can't really compare him to Serginho Dest in possession. That's not really what he does. And I think for DeAndre Yedlin, who at this point is like 28 years old, he just makes the move back to Miami, is back in MLS and gets put in this position in Estadio Azteca. I thought he was okay. I thought he was fine. I mean, if you consider he was up against Irving Lozano and Tecatito Corona for the entire game, I don't recall those guys just beating him easily off the ball. I mean, he fought hard. He never put his team in bad situations. I mean, there was that moment where Hector Herrera played a really, really, really nice ball over the top to Irving Lozano, and Lozano tried to one-time it over his shoulder, and DeAndre Yedlin was right there with him. DeAndre Yedlin was step for step, putting pressure on him, and there were a lot of moments like that where he didn't lose his marker. He stayed and did what was necessary, and I think that for a player like DeAndre Yedlin, who's not expected to be a star and has a lot of limitations within his game, to not be a liability and just do his part and not make things more difficult for others. I think him doing that is exactly what was expected of him, and that was good for me. I mean, there. If you remember, the lowest moment for Yedlin throughout World Cup qualifying was whenever he kind of went to sleep and let Alphonso Davies get by him for that Canada goal. That was a moment where he kind of just lost sight of the play and got beat. But other than that, I don't recall any moments where Yedlin was a liability in defense. If anything, I thought he was good in defense. And don't forget, Yedlin was involved in that play where he played the ball into Ricardo Pepi, who played it out wide to Weah, who played it across the box for Christian Pulisic on that first opportunity in the first half. So he was involved. But yeah, I mean, he's got limits to his play. I didn't think he was terrible. I thought he was fine. I thought he was okay. I thought he did his job. We'll take a few more questions and then we'll get out of here because we pretty much wrapped it up. The U.S. goes into Mexico. Everything, the top players, Pulisic out there, Weah out there, they had their opportunities. They don't seize them. On the defensive side of the ball, they really limit Mexico to a lot of long distance shots and low percentage shots. It was going to take some really nice play for Mexico to beat the United States tonight. They had some really nice moments of play where I think Charlie Rodriguez found Tecatito had a heavy touch in the box, and Ache had some nice balls, but Mexico didn't have the quality to put them away. But it would have taken something special to beat the U.S. tonight, and Mexico wasn't able to put it together. And on the other hand, the U.S. found those special moments in the attack and counterattacked well and created scary moments for Mexico, but just wasn't able to put them away. U.S. had the better opportunities on the night, weren't able to do it. It's still everything that we thought would be on the table prior to tonight's game is still on the table. The U.S. still absolutely have to go in to Orlando on Sunday night and get 3 points away from Panama. The Canalmen have, they have a team that's better than the sum of its parts. And of course, they beat the U.S. in the last game away to Panama. But the U.S. have looked absolutely tremendous at home throughout World Cup qualifying. And hopefully that's going to remain. The U.S. come into this game against Panama with the return of Gio Reyna, I'm assuming, for 90 minutes. And Gio Reyna was absolutely electric whenever he hit the pitch tonight against Mexico. Hopefully, Christian Pulisic will be able to recover in time. Hopefully, Tyler Adams will be able to recover in time. Hopefully, Yunus Musa will be able to recover in time. We'll get the gang back together. Everybody will be out cheering their hearts out for hopefully a sold-out stadium in Orlando, and the U.S. will be able to go in there and get the 3 points. Costa Rica is going to drop points, and the U.S. will qualify for the World Cup. That's what I'm hoping for. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out in the stream tonight. If you want this in podcast form, this will be uploaded as a podcast, the Yank Report podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. If you want to leave a comment in Spanish, dígame un comentario en español. I got a special little video for you guys lined up tomorrow morning. If everything goes well, I'm excited for you guys to see that. I think you're gonna really enjoy it. Is shout out to my tier 2 subscribers. There's a couple in the chat right now. I saw Mike Irish is in here. I saw Manuel Oliveras. Were you in here? And gosh, I forget the new guy's name. Hold on. Chris Matassa, our newest tier 2 subscriber. So shout out to those guys. Thank you for those guys for stepping up and being tier 2. Shout out to Nick for hanging out, Tom for hanging out, Will for hanging out, Adam, Mind and Body Muscle, which is a strong username on YouTube. Juan Carlos, Michael, Hector, Greg, Bernardo, thank you guys so much. My name is Sam, and this is the Yank Report brought to you by Bet Online. I forgot to run the ad, so I guess this is ad free. So there we go. No ad tonight. This is just the Yank Report brought to you by me. So you guys have a good night. USA go into Estadio Azteca, get the 1-1. They get the one. I'm sorry, they get the 0-0, get the 1 point, an all important 1 point away in CONCACAF. Guys, you have a good night.